Now, we all know growing your own food is very satisfying, but let's be honest about something. Not everything you grow in a garden is worth the space it takes up. Some crops give you back far more than what you put in. Others look great in a seed catalog and take up the entire raised bed for 4 months and produce enough food to maybe make like 2 meals. And if you're growing food to actually offset what you spend at the grocery store, which right now, with prices the way they are, is a very good reason to grow anything at all, then the question of which crops are worth your time and space is one of the most practical questions a gardener can make. So today we're going to answer it. We're going to put forth four of the most popular garden crops head to head in a versus format. That's right. For each matchup, we're going to judge a few things, three things actually. How much money it saves you compared to buying at a store, which is most valuable, how easy it is to grow, which saves you a lot of time, and how much it produces per square foot of garden space. Is it actually worth it? At the end, we're crowning an overall winner, a single crop that gives you the most bang for your buck across three categories. Now, let's run some numbers. Before we get into matchups, here's how we're going to score this thing. For cost savings, we're comparing what the crop costs to produce at home versus what it costs at a typical grocery store. We're going to use average national retail prices, which in 2026 are significantly higher than they were a couple years ago. So don't go looking back in time. It actually works in our favor of growing your own more than ever. Right now, for the ease of growing, we're talking about realistic experience for a home gardener, not ideal conditions or a professional setup, or a raised garden or backyard plot. Average soil, average attention for yield per square foot. We've got to keep it fair. Now we're looking at how much food a typical home grower can realistically expect from 1 square foot of garden space over the course of a growing season. Not a theoretical maximum on a seed packet, we're talking real world numbers. Three categories, four matchups, one winner. Now let's go. Matchup one, tomatoes versus peppers. Now, it's a classic here. And these two come together all the time because they grow in similar conditions. Both love the heat, both need full sun, both are summer crops that most gardeners have at least tried. From a value standpoint, they're very different paths, though. Tomatoes. One tomato plant in a decent season will produce up to 15 to 20 pounds of fruit. That's not a typo. A single healthy, well tended, indeterminate tomato plant, the vining kind that keeps producing all season, can give you that much across the summertime. At the current grocery store prices, and I've done videos on this before, a pound of tomato runs anywhere from $1.50 to $3, depending on the variety and whether you're buying at a convenient or a conventional or organic. That's going to change. 15 to 20 pounds per plant means $30 to $60 of grocery value from one plant that costs you a dollar or two as a seedling. Ease of growing is moderate. Tomatoes, they need a stake, caging, consistent watering, and some attention to pruning if you want a maximum yield. They do have pest and disease challenges, as many of you might know. So they're not the most beginner garden friendly crop on the list, but they are manageable and well documented enough. And most problems have easy solutions. Peppers. Now, one pepper plant can produce less in raw weight, typically 3 to 5 pounds of fruit of the season for sweet peppers, less for hot peppers because the fruits are smaller. And yes, they are fruits because they have seeds. Peppers get interesting. The cost per pound at a store is high, especially specialty varieties. A red bell pepper at a grocery store will cost you about $1.50 to 2. You might be getting higher where you live, but a single pepper plant that produces 30 to 40 peppers over a season is generating a real grocery value. Ease of growing is slightly easier than tomatoes, but peppers also need less maintenance. They have fewer pest issues in most regions and are a bit more drought tolerant once they're established. The winter matchup, tomatoes. I know you might be like, how did this happen? The sheer volume of food per plant combined with the current price of tomatoes at the store makes it one of the highest returns of the crops at home that you can grow. Extra maintenance, well, it's worth it. And if you've ever tasted a tomato, you'll love it. Now, a matchup, lettuce versus broccoli. I just got done talking to my son about this the other day. These two represent opposite approach with growing leafy food, and they're more useful comparison because a lot of gardeners try them both and end up frustrated with one of them. Lettuce, especially leaf lettuce, not a head of lettuce, but cut and come again varieties where you harvest outer leaves and the plant keeps growing. 1 square foot of density planted leaf lettuce can give you continuous harvest for fresh greens up to 8 or 12 weeks before it bolts in summer heat. At a grocery store, a 5 ounce container of mixed salad greens runs about $3 to $5. Let's not even talk about organic. 1 square foot of growing space can easily produce the equivalent of 10 or more of those containers across the season. Growing's very easy, lettuce germinates very fast, grows quickly, tolerates some shade, and requires minimal care. It is one of the best crops for true beginners, and the main failure mode is planting in full summer heat, as the lettuce bolts and turns bitter when the temperature climbs above 80 degrees. You'll have to navigate that. You plant them in the spring and fall when the temperatures are cooler, and you won't have that problem. So, broccoli, on the other hand, takes up a lot of space. I've grown broccoli before, and it takes about 18 inches to 2 feet in every direction. And it takes about 60 to 90 days from transplant to harvest. The main head is what most people eat, and once the plant produces smaller side shoots, the side shoots are edible, but production can continue for several weeks. A single broccoli plant produces really 1 to 2 pounds of broccoli across its life, including the side shoots. The pound of broccoli at a store costs about $2 to $3, so one plant returns about $3 to $6 of grocery value. Now, the ease of growing is moderate since broccoli is a cold season crop and it hates hard frost and bolts in the heat. So your timing is very important. Planting correctly is a key challenge and it requires more experience than lettuce. The winner of this matchup, you guessed it, lettuce. Lettuce produces more value per square foot, grows faster, and requires less experience, has a longer harvest window than broccoli. Broccoli tastes better, and I know this for a fact, than store bought, and is worth growing, but it's not, can't compete with a well planted bed and cut and come again greens for a bang for your buck. So that's where lettuce gets the edge. Now, third matchup is zucchini versus cucumbers. Both are famous for producing more food than a family can reasonably eat. Between the two, one is significantly more valuable from a cost savings perspective. A single zucchini plant and a full production window can give you 5 to 10 pounds of zucchini per week, and they do grow big if you let them. So, zucchini at a grocery store is not really that expensive and is typically around a pound for $1 to $1.50. So the volume is high, but the dollar value is pretty moderate. The ease of growing goes to zucchini is very easy since it's forgiving and it's productive for beginners. It make you feel like a champion. Cucumber production is a little similar in volume, although typically spread across a longer season with vine and trellises as well. Cucumbers are more expensive per pound at the store than zucchini, especially organic cucumbers. A cucumber plant that produces 60 to 80 cucumbers in a season is replacing a significant grocery bill. I want to think about that. Cucumbers offer a clear path for long term preservation through pickling. A good jar of good pickles at the store costs about $3 to $5, while homemade pickles mainly cost the cucumbers and some basic ingredients. Now, the ease of growing cucumbers is a little bit moderate. They do need consistent moisture, benefit from trellising, and are susceptible to powdery mildew, which I'm dealing with now. The winner of the matchup, you guessed it, it's cucumbers. So that's three matchup winners, which are tomatoes over peppers, lettuce over broccoli, and cucumbers over zucchini. I'm not saying you can't grow on one, but you can do both, but just know what you're dealing with. The overall question is which single crop gives you the best bang for your buck across all three categories? The answer is tomatoes. Excuse me, I was going to say cucumbers, but I don't know what I was thinking. No other crop comes in close to the cost savings. When you factor in the current tomato prices, volume per plant, preservation potential, and I have a video on preserving, couple videos on preserving tomatoes. A single well-tended indeterminate plant can return $50 to $100 a grocery bill in a season, depending on what variety and conditions. Multiplied across several plants, a modest tomato section can meaningfully offset your grocery spending for a year. And tomatoes are one of the most documented and well-supported crops, so when something goes wrong, the answer is usually you can always find it. And you definitely can find it by looking on my channel. The accessibility makes tomatoes a good choice for a wide range of gardeners. A close second is lettuce for small space growers, container gardens, and I do have ones about how you can do them in windowsills. Anyone in climates where the summer heat limits growth, the return per square foot on a well managed cutting and come again lettuce bed is generally impressive. The growing difficulty is low, which is good, and fresh salad greens are something a household uses every week if you're eating them. The two tomatoes and lettuce are where you get the most out of your garden if your goal is to offset what you spend at the store. Everything else we talked about today, peppers, broccoli, zucchini, cucumbers, well, they're worth growing. They all taste better homegrown than store bought. If you don't believe me, try it. All of this contributes to something in your kitchen and your food budget. And if you're starting from scratch with limited space and you want to know where to put your effort first, now you know. Start with tomatoes, add lettuce, then build from there. And this kind of content that helps make you better decisions in your garden, well, hit me that HMO special to help me out special and subscribe to this channel. We're building a full series of crops to grow, when to plant them, and how to get the most out of every square foot and space you have. Drop me a comment and tell me, hey, what you're growing. Which one surprised you the most? Have you had luck? And what did you do to combat some pest issues? And have you produced more than what you expected this season? Tell me about it. Grow the stuff that pays you back. I'm Phil Davis. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Most people don't need motivation, they need better information. Owning land, growing food, and becoming more self reliant often sound complicated, mostly because they're rarely explained clearly. Ancestry Lands focuses on the practical side of independence by talking about what land ownership actually costs, what works in real backyards and small parcels. Because independence means getting freedom and security, and land just happens to do both. If you prefer planning over panic, subscribe to Ancestry Lands for information you can actually use.